Have you ever stopped to think about the water you drink? Here's a super cool fact for you. The very same water that you might be sipping from a glass today could have once been splashed in by a giant dinosaur millions of years ago. Isn't that amazing? This is possible because all the water on Earth is on a constant, incredible journey called the water cycle. It's a giant natural recycling system that moves water all around our planet, from the ground to the sky and back again. This process has been happening for billions of years, making sure that every living thing, from the tiniest ant to the biggest whale, has the water it needs to survive. Without this cycle, our world would be a very different, very dry place. The water cycle isn't just a cool science trick, it's one of the most important processes on our planet. Think of it like a big circle or a ride that never ends. Water is always on the move, changing its form from a liquid to a gas, and back to a liquid again. This journey ensures that water is cleaned and distributed all over the world. It provides the rain that helps our food grow, fills our rivers and lakes for us to swim in, and gives us the water we need to drink, brush our teeth, and stay healthy. It's a fundamental engine for life, powered by the sun, and it happens all around us, every single second of every single day, whether we see it or not. So where does this incredible journey begin? It starts everywhere there is water. Look outside your window. The water cycle is happening in the big, vast oceans that cover most of our planet. It's happening in the quiet lakes nestled between mountains and the long, winding rivers that snake across the land. It even happens in the small puddles that form on the sidewalk after a rainstorm. All of this water, no matter where it is part of this amazing, continuous adventure. The sun shines down on these bodies of water, warming them up and getting them ready for the first exciting step of their trip up into the sky. It's the starting line for a global relay race. This constant movement of water is what connects every part of our world. The water in a puddle in your backyard might one day travel across the country and fall as rain on a farmer's field, helping to grow the vegetables you eat for dinner. Or, the water from a melting snowflake on a tall mountain could journey down into a river, flow into the ocean, and eventually evaporate to become part of a cloud floating high above your head. Every single drop is on its own special trip, but they are all part of the same grand planet-sized system. This cycle is what makes Earth a living, breathing, water-filled world, and it's a scientific wonder we can see in action every day. The first step in our water adventure is called evaporation, and it's all thanks to our big, bright star, the sun. When the sun's warm rays shine down on oceans, lakes, and even wet laundry hanging on a line, they heat the water up. This heat gives the water molecules a jolt of energy, making them so excited that they start to wiggle and jiggle and float up into the air. They change from a liquid, which you can see and feel, into a special kind of gas called water vapor. You can't see water vapor, but it's all around us. It's like the water is putting on an invisibility cloak and going on a secret mission into the sky. Think about a puddle on a hot, sunny day. At first it's there, but after a few hours it seems to have vanished into thin air. Where did it go? It evaporated. The sun's heat turned the liquid water into water vapor, which then rose up into the atmosphere. The same thing happens on a much, much bigger scale with our oceans. The sun is constantly beaming down on them, causing huge amounts of water to evaporate and rise into the air. This process is like a giant silent elevator, lifting trillions of tiny water droplets from the Earth's surface high up into the sky, getting them ready for the next stage of their journey. Once all that invisible water vapor is floating high up in the atmosphere, it starts to get cold. The higher you go in the sky, the chillier it gets. This cold air makes the water vapor molecules slow down and huddle together. This huddling process is called condensation. As the tiny vapor droplets clump together, they form bigger droplets that you can actually see. When billions and billions of these droplets get together, they create clouds. So, the next time you look up and see a big, puffy white cloud, you're actually looking at a huge collection of tiny water droplets or ice crystals that have condensed way up in the sky. Making clouds is a lot like what happens to a cold can of soda on a warm day. Have you ever noticed how the outside of the can gets wet? That moisture isn't leaking from the inside, It's actually water vapor from the air around the can that has cooled down and turned back into liquid water right on the surface. Clouds form in the exact same way, just on a much more massive scale. All that invisible water vapor rises, cools off, and turns back into visible cloud droplets. It's a magical transformation happening miles above our heads, setting the stage for water's return trip to Earth. Now that our water droplets have teamed up to form clouds, they continue to float around in the sky, bumping into each other and joining forces. As more and more water vapor condenses, the droplets inside the clouds grow bigger and heavier. Eventually, they become so big and heavy that the air can no longer hold them up. They have to come back down to Earth. This part of the journey is called precipitation, and it's a word that simply means any form of water that falls from the clouds. We see it all the time, and it can look very different depending on how cold it is in the sky. The most common kind of precipitation is, of course, rain. When the cloud droplets become heavy enough, they fall to the ground as raindrops, watering our plants and filling our reservoirs. But if the air inside the cloud is very cold, below the freezing point, the water droplets will turn into tiny ice crystals instead. These ice crystals then stick together to form beautiful, unique snowflakes that gently float down to the ground. Sometimes, raindrops falling from a cloud will pass through a layer of super cold air on their way down, freezing into little balls of ice called sleet. And during big thunderstorms, strong winds can toss raindrops up and down inside the clouds, freezing them into bigger and bigger chunks of ice that fall as hail. Once the water falls back to Earth as rain, snow, or hail, it needs somewhere to go. This final stage of the cycle is called collection or runoff. A lot of the water lands directly in our oceans, lakes, and rivers, immediately rejoining the large bodies of water where it might have started. The water that falls on land can take a few different paths. Some of it will soak deep into the ground, becoming groundwater. This underground water is an important source of drinking water for many communities and can stay underground for a very long time before eventually seeping back into a lake or river. The rest of the water that falls on land flows over the surface, a process we call runoff. It travels downhill, flowing over fields, roads, and mountains. This runoff gathers into small streams, which then flow into larger rivers. These rivers continue their journey across the land, eventually carrying the water all the way back to the ocean. And just like that, the water is collected and ready to begin its amazing cycle all over again. The sun will shine, the water will evaporate, and the whole magical journey will start anew, ensuring our planet always has fresh water where it's needed. So why is this continuous, wonderful water wheel so incredibly important for our planet? First of all, the water cycle is nature's ultimate cleaning machine. When water evaporates from the oceans, it leaves all the salt, dirt, and other gunk behind. This means the water that rises into the atmosphere is fresh and clean. When it falls back down as rain or snow, it delivers fresh water to every corner of the globe. This process is vital because plants, animals, and people all need fresh water to live. Without the water cycle constantly purifying and distributing water, life as we know it simply could not exist on land. The water cycle is also the master gardener for our entire planet. It brings the rain and snow that nourish all plant life, from the tallest redwood trees to the grass in your local park and the carrots growing in a garden. These plants are the foundation of almost every ecosystem on Earth. They provide food for animals and for us, and they also release the oxygen we need to breathe. So, in a way, every drop of rain that falls is helping to feed and support all life on Earth. The journey of water is directly connected to the journey of food from the farm to our tables. It is the lifeblood of our world's agriculture. Furthermore, this amazing cycle helps to regulate the climate and weather patterns all over the world. The movement of water and heat from the warm equator to the colder poles helps to balance Earth's temperature, preventing some places from getting too hot and others from getting too cold. The formation of clouds and the process of precipitation are what create our weather, giving us sunny days, rainy afternoons, and snowy winters. The water cycle is a powerful force that shapes the very landscape of our planet, carving out canyons with rivers and shaping coastlines with ocean waves over thousands of years. It is a true Earth-shaping phenomenon. In the end, every single drop of water is on a spectacular, endless adventure. It travels from the deepest oceans to the highest clouds and back again, connecting everything and everyone on our planet. It cleans itself, nourishes life, and shapes our world in powerful ways. The water cycle is a perfect example of how science is all around us, working quietly and beautifully every day. So the next time you take a drink of water, pour it on a plant or splash in a puddle, take a moment to wonder, where has this water been and where is it going next? It's a journey that never, ever ends.